everybody, we're going to have to pep up, guys, so cheers, all right?
Hi.
Thursday, it's my favorite day of the week.
How are you?
Yeah.
So hot.
It's very hot.
Hotter.
Like it's like,
Hotter than the hubs of hell.
yeah, I
Or
don't
some
know.
other
It's
things.
draining.
Okay, there's just so things that's hot and dry. Let's stay away from analogies. I have a deal with some of those, but it's okay. Just keep
what?
them clean. Just keep the analogies clean. That's
Oh,
all I'm
really?
saying.
Do you
Yeah.
you don't like hell?
Well, I don't want to end up there. I'm trying not to, but we'll see.
Good luck.
We'll see what happens someday. We'll see what happens when that day
Yeah.
when that day comes.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to sit in purgatory for a while
Yeah.
and see what happens. So,
Come back and haunt us.
I would never haunt you.
Well, at least you're a realist.
Yeah. So what are we talking about first?
I don't know. I'm just soaking it in between. I'm just the typical
Soaking
thorn
in.
between two roses.
Okay.
Soaking in all this sweat.
I'm not sweating.
I am.
I'm okay right now, but I got a nice chilly drink and here with my two besties. so we're
Same.
good.
We're talking about molds today.
Yeah.
And by
Oh, we-
mold, it's not the Adams County black mold
Courthouse
debacle,
fiasco. Yeah.
but other debacles such as the Denman debacle, the zoning debacle, and all fun things in the news that we love to have opinions about.
Yes. So let's start with, if you're okay with it, can we start with Denman?
Sure.
Because I'm pretty close to that one.
Literally.
Like physically.
Literally.
And, literally. So, of course, what we're talking about is the letter to the editor, the article that was done about the two gym teachers at Denman.
And then
So
we have
remember,
the
there is,
school,
yeah,
the
remember,
school board meeting this week.
Yeah.
so there's an article that covers the school board, an actual article, and then there's a letter to the editor, which we have to stress, those are not articles from us. Some people don't realize it. It was a lovely letter to the editor by Allison Clare. She submits very thoughtful pieces.
Yeah.
And I think this would be considered, an article. However, it is very opinionated,
Sure.
and not everyone falls into those opinions.
Not everybody fits that mold.
Yeah.
Right?
And we originally broke this story about a month, 6 weeks ago when we talked to some parents about the issue who had concerns. And then the school board, again, you had two other parents show up at the school board meeting on Wednesday night to express their opinions. And there's an investigation going on right now that the school board's done. Of course, this falls after the DCFS inquiry that happened last fall. So it's still kind of up in the air to see what's going to happen in that situation. No actions, I believe, have been taken yet against any employees.
Right.
And we probably won't know there are any until they actually do happen and we see, what the result is. So
When's the next school board meeting?
it'll be like a month from now.
Okay.
But if you ask the Facebook judge and jury, they're already convicted, crucified, basically worst people on the face of the earth. So that's the mold that I think a lot of people are falling into. I have a different opinion, and I'm probably going to get crucified for this. But again, like I said, I'm close to it. My daughter goes to school there. She has been in the room when this is happening, and when I brought it to her attention, she said, "Oh boy, what a drama king," right? To the person who was complaining about this, whatever, drama queen, whatever. And she said it was all in good fun. And when you hear that, initially your mom brain is like, oh boy, that's kind of leans you in the way of like grooming. But then also on the flip side, I grew up in a day when you got birthday spankings and a pinch to grow an inch. And it was fun and it was lighthearted. I think knowing these two teachers, there was no maliciousness. It wasn't perversion. Probably in my mind, of course I wasn't there, was something kind of fun and lighthearted. Now, in today's age, you've got to be a dumbass to do that, right? So I can have two sides, two thoughts on the same topic. One, do I think that there was something that they deserved to be crucified and, their whole reputation blown because of this? No. Do I think that it was ridiculous that this is even a topic that we're talking about? Yeah. I think that if the school administration would have put a stop to that when they found out that it was happening, none of this wouldn't be a topic, right?
Oh,
So
totally agree.
accountability, knowing in your brain that, okay, maybe they're not doing anything malicious, but in today's age, you cannot lay your hands on a child. You definitely can't put tape over their mouth, whether you've told them to be quiet multiple times or I'm going to put tape on your mouth or not. It's just kind of it's a silly thing to have to tell to educators. It's also very silly that it wasn't nipped in the bud right away. I don't know that they deserve to lose their jobs over it, but I guess that's up to the parents who are having an issue with this, because I also don't know everyone's home life. I don't know if these children have had experiences with abuse in one form or another, right? We just don't know all of the situation. So again, yeah, I think it's ridiculous that this is even having to be talked about, because as educators, they should know better.
And it should have been nipped in the bud by the administration.
100%.
Like you said. To push back just a little bit on the all in good fun thing and like what we experienced as children, we are also the generation that doesn't talk about what happened to us behind closed doors, if things happened to us behind closed doors, because we were groomed that way.
Conditioned.
And it is grooming
Yeah.
at that. There are so many instances I know where people just kind of went with the flow because of the mere fact that, like you just said, well, everyone does this, or it's all in good fun, this, and this. When you're a kid, it's hard to differentiate between all in good fun, especially like in the school setting and family setting. So you
Right.
take that from, and like what Alice and Claire said, who's to, decide or know that a 6-year-old kid can't differentiate between those two.
Sure.
So when it does happen to them, or if something does happen, I just know that we are a generation that lived in the closet
Sure.
on these things and on these matters out of embarrassment and conditioning.
Yeah, and I think totally agree that there are different, case-by-case scenarios, and we are a generation that, there probably were things happened that we didn't talk about. I also know that times have changed significantly. So
Yeah.
going back to, punishment in school where you were getting swatted with a paddle, right? I got hit in the back of the head with a ruler for chewing gum. Doesn't mean that it's okay, but times were different back
Yeah.
then, right?
Agreed.
So when you have teachers who grew up in those times, this may seem harmless. So to say to them, you basically are, a child abuser, but probably isn't. That's probably not 100% true.
No, and-
But to also realize that it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. That they were just having fun, but it's not mutually exclusive to say that these kids also shouldn't have to experience that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that two things. Number one, again, it happened under the previous principal. So when the new principal came in this year, and the new principal was told this behavior had been going on, it should have stopped. The new principal
Right.
should have come in and laid down the law and said, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Even if you think it's right or wrong,
Then
you
it
can't do it.
continued. Then one of the parents got a hold of DCFS. Then DCFS said it happened, or did their investigation. The teachers admitted to the practice, so they admitted to doing it, and DCFS ruled it as inappropriate, but not criminal, and not, again, they did not believe there was a sexual component to
Sure.
it. So then that happened the fall, and everybody was told to stop. Well, then it continued again after.
They were told to stop?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it continued again after the Christmas break.
Well, that goes to accountability then.
And yes, so I think that is the major problem, because then when you have kids who, when mom is trying to, okay, I'm baking cupcakes, here's your birthday button, and the kid goes, I don't want anybody to know it's
keep
my
a secret.
birthday,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
Why don't you want people to know it's your birthday? Because I don't want that person to touch me.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Another thing that's a problem, and I want to reiterate, when we had Chrissy Cox on,
Chrissy
or
Duran.
Chrissy Duran, she told us a little bit about the fact that Denman has a PE Facebook page. No other of the elementary schools had a specific PE page. They were the only ones that had that. Now, some of the parents that complained were blocked from that page, even though their children's pictures were up on there.
Oh, yeah.
And then to add, there were hundreds of photos on there of kids and QPS has a practice where, you know, we sign over the rights saying you can use my child's photograph.
Yeah.
And Chrissy was saying, you know, for when I work for Dream Big and I take, you know, random pictures, I have to go through every single channel to make sure all those kids are covered under that deal. Did that happen with this? I don't think so.
Well, you have to sign, when your kid goes to school, when you
Yes,
register
but there are
them for
pictures
school.
of people that might not have signed up there. Not to mention hundreds and hundreds of selfies of said PE teacher with their students. Like, why did you have to include yourself in all those pictures?
I think what you're saying is right. I also think a lot of it is kind of like speculation, and now we're turned sour by one reason or another. I think it just goes back to, was it criminal? Probably not in my eyes, but I haven't been in that situation where it was a big situation for me. If it would have happened to my kid and it bothered her, I would have gone mama bear quicker than shit, right?
So you're saying, like, just curious, if your daughter, how old is she again?
10.
So some of these kids are like 6.
Yeah.
You know, it's like shock value, you know, 10, and she's grown up in a very fun household.
We're also very, very honest. So if it were bothering her,
that's what I was going to ask.
I would say. So if she
have a
came to
different-
me, and regardless of why it bothered her, whether it embarrassed her in front of everybody, because maybe that's the case. Maybe she doesn't like to be touched. Maybe she has, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe she just doesn't, maybe she doesn't feel comfortable, whatever it is. If she would have come to me and told me that she was bothered by it, I would have taken umbrage and I would have taken that up with the school.
Yeah.
Now, if they did nothing about it, I would have continued the way that these parents did. So this is no judgment. I'm just trying to look at it from a bigger picture, knowing how I grew up. And of course, that's only my perspective. So I'm not telling anybody how they should feel about this. I'm just saying that if you don't know specifics, don't just throw yourself into the mold, because that's what the majority is doing.
Exactly.
And we're really good at following the masses, especially when it's crucifying someone.
And
because
virtue signaling.
Yes, virtue signaling, just getting in on the drama of things, because people really enjoy that. People thrive on it. It's human nature. I think for this scenario, thinking that there are kids involved, there are, you know, 2 teachers involved, plus administration and more, I'm sure, parents. Just critical thinking is important, individualistic thinking, knowing a little bit of the information before spitting things and creating some, you know, witch burning group on Facebook. It's just, it does no good. So it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous that it happened.
But if you've got a kid you still have a kid.
Yeah.
But and your child doesn't have a problem with it, thought it was whatever. And that's, of course, and she's, again, you guys have a great family, all that stuff. But, you know, there are kids who don't have that, or do have great families, but the kids are they have issues, or they're just emotional or whatever.
Yeah.
So if that kid is so upset, and that the parents are to the point where, well, if those teachers are still there, I'm going to have to homeschool my kid, or I'm going to have to send them to St. Peter's or Olmus or something.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do in that situation?
Well, that goes back to accountability on school administration. And that's where I think this all falls, is you knew it was happening, you know it's inappropriate regardless of the level, and you did nothing to nip it in the bud, whether at the beginning or after everybody was complaining. That falls on administration.
And I think somebody's going to have to take the fall for this. It's not
Somebody
just gonna
has
go
to
away.
answer to it. And
Sure.
whether it's termination, I don't know what the answer is, but this will definitely be a learning lesson that I didn't think anybody needed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, again,
Next
we're all
subject.
Yeah,
mistakes,
sorry.
so-
I just wanted to talk about that for a minute because it's
Good.
I think it's really important to,
No, absolutely.
to put these things on the table.
And I think next month's school board meeting is going to be as interesting as this one
Yeah,
was.
100%.
So,
Top story this week, there was a request sent to the commission the planning commission, whatever, I'm dyslexic.
We get the gist, sister. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good.
And it was for, I think it's called Hope for
Hope
Houses,
House.
Hope House. And the gist of that is it's a place for pregnant women to go while they're pregnant, and I think after they've had their baby, a comfortable place. This is specifically designed for homeless women in need while they are pregnant.
Is it just homeless women or also people in kind of like abusive situations?
think
kind of like
same.
Madonna House was?
Yeah.
Both, or
It's
Quinata
just
or something
people
like
in
that.
need.
yeah.
I don't really know what the qualifications
Okay.
for it yet
Sure.
are, because right now, I'm not even sure if they have that plan in place, because right now they're trying to get over the zoning issue.
Gotcha.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So this is located at around like 22nd and Jefferson. This is a neighborhood where some families have spoke out and said, I bought my house in this area because of the non-turnover rate.
Yeah,
I
longevity
like
of
to
neighbors.
know my neighbors. I have children. I just want the security of my neighborhood is one of the arguments, and the other argument is just the plain zoning issue.
Yeah.
But then we look at the program and all the good that it is meant to do. So you kind of ask, do you bend the rules for zoning in situations like this? Right now, we've always used our zoning as, I believe Adam Booth coined it, as the Quincy Bible.
Yeah.
It
As archaic as the Bible, maybe
probably
as well.
that
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But it has been conducive for all these years, and now we are seeing it as somewhat of a stop in the road.
Yeah.
For lots of things. We saw it for the apartment complex, we saw it for the solar farms, and now we're looking at it through this Hopewell House.
Don't you think people would look into that before they buy a property for a certain purpose?
Yes, you would think so.
I would hope.
Unless they talk to someone and said, "Oh, that won't be that big a deal. You'll be
Yeah.
fine."
I don't
'Cause
know
that happens.
how I feel, because I see both sides of the spectrum. I would never want to stand in the way of something like that, especially, like I was in that situation. I was
Yeah.
pregnant, alone, needed all the help I could get. CareNet services helped me. Heidi Lohman helped me. She was basically my spiritual doula, as I
Yeah.
called her.
Your little angel.
Yeah. So people do need help, and this is something that there's a calling for. But at the same time, I see the I don't want it in my backyard argument.
Yeah.
A friend, a coworker here said, "What do you think about it?" And I'm like, I see both sides.
Sure.
He goes, "I just don't understand why anybody cares what people do with their land." And my argument to him, and now this is so different. I was
Different
like, well,
argument, but still.
would you care if your neighbors put up a hog farm next to you? And he's like, that can't happen. Why can't that happen? Because
Zoning.
of zoning.
Yeah.
Again, it's two totally, and I
And
don't
I-
even want to, but they're zoning for a reason. If anybody has a,
It's a guideline.
Yeah.
It's a standard.
I'm curious though of why it's zoned that way when Adams School, which is now Olmus Academy, is right there.
And other businesses.
And other businesses are there. And so I guess my question is,
how can it be commercial?
how
and-
different is it? I mean, it is on the other side of the street, and that's probably the case. Well, it's on that side of the street. We've had that situation with Broadway for years where you have commercial up to 20th, and then you had, which was Family Video, and now it's Dollar General, and then it's houses the rest of the way. Because once upon a time, they wanted to put Steak and Shake there. And some of the neighbors on Vermont Street led the charge to block Steak and Shake. And then, but
Dummies.
Yeah,
Well,
why? 'Cause
now
of the
steak-
smell?
You can walk
I think the
and-
lights, the smell,
Oh,
the traffic,
boy.
all of the above.
Yeah.
Well, and again, Steak and Shake found a home. Now it's gone. And now
Already
Freddy's
Freddy's.
will be there.
Yeah.
Woo woo.
Hey, real quick, what zoning restriction is it violating? Do you know? Do we know what that is?
It's a residential area,
Yeah.
not zoned to be commercial,
Yeah.
Just on that side of the street?
I believe.
I believe that's the case because
Okay.
you have commercial on the north side of the street, so
Okay,
the
yeah,
south
that's
side of the
what I was
street.
gonna-
Although they've got the holistic medicine,
Yeah,
whatever
that's what I was
thing is
gonna
there.
say.
Maybe it goes block by block. 'Cause I
it-
know
it-
when
it
I was
does
looking
go-
into buying the bar, I was like, ooh, you got to look at things how they're zoned. And this
Yeah.
one was zoned, commercial all the way up to a house, and then it like kind of juries,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
around the
it's
house.
Definitely spot zoning. They've carved
Well,
out
because
little niches and
well,
stuff.
because people have taken it to the council and they've done their, decisioning on zoning and have changed some things for different businesses, and maybe that can happen here. I don't know.
But also, if something's already there, you will know it's there. For example, if you buy a house across the street from the Abbey, you know the Abbey's there.
Yeah. Great
So-
spot, by the way.
Great spot.
Great spot to live.
Great spot to live.
Yeah.
Walk across the street.
Heck yeah.
No DUIs. Awesome.
Yes.
The smells make you hungry.
Yeah, but I will say, to your point of being able to see both sides of it, I think having a home like that in my neighborhood would not be a problem for me unless it presented other risks. And by other risks, I mean maybe maybe it brings with it some crazy baby daddies.
That's
or
what
something.
I was
You know,
thinking.
like who
That
knows
is
what the
exactly
situation
what I was
is.
Once,
thinking.
once upon a time, the
Or
house,
crazy baby mamas.
Yeah.
the house where Quinata is now at was a house.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that was donated, and they changed the zoning to do whatever to put Quinata there.
Yeah.
And that was how many years ago? So again, I think that it's going to be real interesting to see what the full council does with this next week. And again, normally the council members will yield to the alderman. And if the aldermen of the ward are like, okay, yeah, that's fine, or no, don't do it, that's generally how it works. They usually...
I mean, they yield to the planning commission.
No, the aldermen will decide. If the aldermen are like, oh, I think the planning commission... Oh, there's been many cases where the aldermen have told the plan commission to go pound sand,
Yeah.
and they did the
Take a
opposite.
hike. Yeah.
So it's ultimately going to be the two aldermen in that ward, I think it's 6th ward, so it's Jake Reed and...
It's their decision alone.
It's not their decision, but they will have a great deal of influence in
Gotcha.
it. So I mean, their votes don't count anymore. But if they feel strongly about a certain issue, an alderman is going to go lobby and try to make sure he or she's got their 7 or 8 votes, 7 or the mayor support, so they can get something they want or don't want in their ward. I mean, that's kind of how the game's always been
I
played.
believe Jake Reed has made a statement, and it might have just been in our comment section, but
It was.
he was very adamant for this, and
pro.
so he is
Yeah.
going to fight.
So
and
he's
he said
probably-
he's voting to deny the planning commission's recommendations.
Yeah.
I
And
think
kudos to him
Yeah.
for just sticking to your guns. I mean, again,
Everybody
even if I
has-
don't agree to it all, like I said, I see both sides. But what this is all about is not fitting molds. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it is when you see both sides of a story and you have both opinions and you don't fit a mold. It's pretty unique. It makes you a pretty unique person.
yeah, critical
Makes
thinking
you-
is. Everybody deserves a star for critical
Yes.
thinking and not being scared to go against.
We
the
have
grain.
very few of these people, though, that don't fit molds.
Yeah.
But we're lucky enough to have one today as our guest. He is one of my best friends. Everyone knows and loves him. He is Quincy's bartender.
Yeah.
So you were Quincy's bartender.
The male version.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
So,
There-
all right.
Joining us next, Mr. Doug Arnsman.
We'll be right back.
What have you been missing on Muddy River Gems? You won't believe your eyes. My crew and I have been bringing you stories for more than 20 years on PBS and now Muddy River News. And we're just getting started.
Spit it out.
All right. Let's get this party started.
We're singing.
We'll sing the first part. Ready?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Doug. Happy birthday to you.
Or the whole thing. That's great.
I mean, yeah. I
Happy
think
birthday, Doug.
happy birthday coming
Oh,
up.
thank you.
I think everyone deserves a birthday song and a cupcake.
Yes.
So there
Got
you
this
go.
cupcake from Crazy Cakes, and I made sure to get Doug's favorite.
You did.
Red velvet.
Yeah,
That's
and,
your fave.
and no, I'm not gonna spank him.
Oh, way to tie it in.
Well, there you go.
All right,
Listen.
make a wish, float out. Hope that this podcast doesn't ruin us all.
Okay, I hope
I
so
was
too.
gonna
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, could you wish that my chair wasn't squeaky? Because I'm sure all of our listeners and viewers are probably like, all right, Ash, sit still. Anyway, welcome.
Well, thank you very
Yes.
much. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad you're here. So you are, we were talking outside, you are bartender of bartenders. You're actually retired, but good luck with that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he retired from his real gigs.
We don't say real
Well,
gigs.
we are saying this now because we've been discussing this.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
explain a little bit, real quick, about how you retired from your real gigs.
Yeah, I retired as soon as I could when I turned 62.
What did you do?
I was a doctor's assistant,
Oh,
so at an eye care facility. I love my job, but I love my job much more being retired and working almost full-time bartender.
right. It is a better gig.
So he
I
had
don't say better. It's different.
It is different.
Yes.
he had a multitude of jobs before that too, because you said for a while there he was working at a clothing center and a couple, I don't know, I've known Doug forever, but every
Yes.
position that he's been in, he says, I love my job.
Yeah.
And I think that means the world. Like the fact that you are so positive, even when it comes to just going to work, you are somebody that breaks the mold in the whole positivity of life thing, because you've been dealt some shit.
I have.
Some cards.
But I enjoy people, and anywhere I am that there's people, I love to be there.
Yes.
He said when we were walking out, I was like, how's things? And he goes, honestly, life couldn't be better.
I
And
love it.
whether it's a lie or not, I'm soaking it up because everybody needs some Doug positivity, I
Yeah.
think, these days, right?
That's what I think people navigate towards you. They love you for the Doug positivity.
Yeah.
And you are literally, I will top you over me, Quincy's best bartender, because you sit, you listen, you don't always give advice, like you said, because it's not our place,
That's right.
but you make bartending what bartending is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I look at you and what you're doing, and I think kind of retrospectively, like, all these years I've been doing it wrong, you know?
Nah.
No,
I don't
you
know.
haven't.
You're doing it differently.
We all do it differently.
Yeah.
Everybody
And
brings
that's
their
why
own
people,
flavor.
that
Yeah.
is correct.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be themselves, especially in bartending.
Okay, well then I'm doom and gloom, and you're Mr. Positivity.
I wouldn't say doom and gloom.
I'm a guy. I have to work 5 times harder.
Listen,
Well,
just
I
put on
mean-
some tight pants and let's rock it out, Doug, okay?
You're absolutely right. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I say to people sometimes when they're like, "Why do you dress like that?" It's like, "Cause I don't want to have a conversation with you."
Yeah. Look down here, okay, boys? I'm talking to you. No, I'm kidding. But okay, so for bartending, like we were talking about, we all have that common thread.
I do.
How did you get into it? Were you young, or where did you start? Can we start there?
It was about 11 years ago,
Okay.
and I went to a bar every Sunday night, and my husband and I were the only two that ever went there.
What is
Wait.
this bar? Can we say the name?
We can.
Yeah.
North End. North End Tavern.
My, how things have changed.
I know, right?
Cool. All right.
So I met Doug at North End Tavern with his husband, and they would come in with their sweet dog, Biley.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I fell in love. And so did the North End community, so much that they were like, hey, do you want to bartend here? And now I need to like put this into perspective for all of you. North End is a very white collar, salt of the earth environment.
Blue.
Or yeah, blue collar.
Blue
sorry.
collar.
Blue collar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
good.
Salt
Very
of the
hard
earth.
workers, very
And a lot of them,
rigid.
yes, will use the F word when referring to gays.
Yes.
Like jokingly or not so jokingly. I don't really know
Right.
kind of where that came about. But I do know that once Doug Arnsman got there, it changed.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody went from thinking that they could freely just let these F words fly to
Switching up the F word.
switching it up,
Yeah.
being very respectful. Now, some people still joke with you.
Oh, yeah, they always joke with me. And
And-
if they say something accidentally, they'll go, I'm so sorry, Doug.
Really?
Yeah. Of course they do.
I think the best part when we say we joke with you is like you're the person that lets it just roll off your back. You are a different type of gay,
Oh,
if I can say that.
I am.
Also, yeah, I didn't mention this, but my friend Doug here is gay. Happy Pride Month.
Yeah, Pride
Well,
Month.
thank you.
What
Thank you.
does Pride Month mean to you?
Pride Month? Well, it's a celebration of being gay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gay. I have gone to Prides before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big, not involved in the gay community a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gay because I'm gay. I fell in love with my husband. I love and support the gay community. I'm just not going to be super active in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to live my life, but I support everything they do.
You're not going to tell it on the mountain. You're just living it, loving it, and accepting it.
And
Yeah.
and I think that's why people like me.
Yeah.
I think
They-
so too.
When my husband and I were together, he told everybody we were the straightest gay people anybody would ever know.
That's funny. So now, does it bother you when people joke about it, or are you just like, it's not even a thing? Like,
You know,
it's
if I
just-
was Polish, would I get worried about a Polish joke?
right?
So no, I don't
Yeah.
worry about gay
Yeah.
jokes. No, I don't.
Okay.
That's a part of life.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that most people, I'm sorry, do
No,
you
go
think
ahead.
that, and I don't want you to be, again, because we've had some conversations with other people, and I don't want you to feel like you're the spokesperson for the
Yeah,
gay
you're
community,
not.
right?
And
okay, well,
we're
I'm
not
nowhere
you.
near that.
And
I'm
we're not making him. Just
No, 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 no.
FYI, everybody has,
Yeah,
their
everybody
own-
has their own perspective.
Hence part one.
Yep.
There you go.
But do you think that, I don't even know if this is an appropriate question now, but do you think that most people get offended by the jokes and the, do you think it sets the gay community back? Or is it kind of just like a just live your life type thing?
I think a lot of people get offended by it,
Really?
but most don't. But a lot do.
Yeah. Mostly because of like what probably, transpired before everybody was accepting and yeah.
Yeah,
which is
probably.
understandable.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure not everyone is still accepting. It's so strange how,
So weird.
like I grew up and Mike and I were like just the biggest proponents for equal rights, especially in gay marriage. That was a huge, huge thing for us. But it's kind of strange how it took that turn where it went from, hey, we're being actively supporters
Right.
in this, to then it went from gay marriage was legal and now we have equal rights to an extent because, I mean, there are still some setbacks, in the workplace
Sure.
and other facets of life. But it went from being supporters to now, I'm going to say it's sometimes hard to swallow it all because it's all one big pill. So you're the G in the LGBTQ
Right.
Plus.
Plus, there's
yeah,
a
I forgot
plus
the
now.
plus.
And I think there's a
LGBTQ
couple
plus.
other letters too, yeah.
Well, I think, yeah.
And that's
I think
not a
we
slam,
say
that's
no,
just- yeah.
but I think we use plus because of it's exceedingly adding letters, and no one can say the alphabet mixed up like that. So,
Can't we just say everybody?
or the I don't know.
I don't know either. That
Because
doesn't
know
make
the
I
answer,
think
but
there's
yeah,
a difference
everybody.
between the gay community now and the LGBTQ community. Would you say that?
I would say that, yeah, especially here in Quincy.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Can I ask a question real quick?
What's that?
Okay, so obviously gay, when did you come out?
2007.
Okay. You went through kind of so my aunt is gay.
Right.
And she went through kind of the nightmare of it, right? When it wasn't accepted, where you had to hide, where it wasn't something that you put on a flag and waved in front of your house, where
Right.
it wasn't something that, not that you weren't proud of it, but you definitely didn't know how to approach it, right?
Right.
So now people, I think, and I'm of course just speaking from my experience with other gay people that I know and love, when they went through the time of it was scary, actually scary, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's not for some people today, but actually scary and hidden and very just a scary time. To now, it's like celebrated, of course, as it should be, right?
It is.
But do you think that your attitude towards things, and maybe as a gay community that came out or that was hiding things back then, now you're kind of like, I don't see the need for this, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what do you think about maybe the relationship there?
I don't know. I have lots of friends that lived through that time where
Yeah.
you had to hide it, and I thank them because they're the ones that forged the way for me.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
They were really courageous. I feel kind of like a coward because they already broke open the doors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's still hard for anybody to come out. It was really hard for me to come out.
Because can you talk about your life before?
Well,
Like
oh yeah,
those
I was
people?
married for 20 years. I have two beautiful children and a grandchild that I adore and see almost every single day. But yeah, I was married and I was going through my divorce. That's when I met my future husband. Fell in love at first sight. I really did.
Did you know you were gay when you were married?
No, not really.
No?
You have we've discussed this before. You have a appreciation for the beauty of
All
a
types?
female body.
Oh yeah, that's never changed.
He tells
Yeah.
me my boobs look
So,
great all the time.
Well, they do.
and I do like those.
Yeah, they are great. Yes,
I mean, who doesn't?
right?
But did I know? No, I was fully involved in my life with my wife and my kids, and that was everything in my life.
Sure.
When I was going through my divorce, I met Derek, and it was a weird feeling. We talked and talked, and it just evolved into.
Was Derek out and open?
Yeah, he was out and open. I didn't know that when I met him, though.
Did you meet him at the north end?
No, I
or-
did not.
Where'd you meet him?
At Judd's.
Oh.
Another local stomping ground we love, yeah? So now let's say when you met him, did you feel shameful about having feelings? Like, what was like kind of like the initial feeling of, oh my gosh, I think I might be gay? What were your
I don't know
thoughts?
if I knew that I thought I was gay. I just knew I liked this guy a lot. Does
Really?
that make sense?
Not
So-
putting labels on it, not fitting into a mold. I
Yes.
love it.
Ding, ding, ding. So were you fluid then as well? You were just had an appreciation for all things wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had gay friends back then, and
Yeah.
I knew what that was. And
Yeah.
yeah, our relationship grew very quickly, and
And it was intimate and beautiful, and
And
I
it
loved
was.
every
Yeah.
bit of it. I'm glad to say that. Like, I think I was there for most of it.
You were there
I
for
wasn't
most of
there
it.
for like all the Sunday nights, but I was there at least on Tuesday nights, and I just loved you guys. You were seriously like the epitome of beautiful love, and I hate talking about this, but we were going to talk a little bit about it. It all came crashing down. It came crashing down hard, and it came crashing down hard during COVID times.
it did.
Derek lost his life during COVID. I know that a part of it was partly from COVID, just for the mere fact that he caught it. And then I don't know if, I don't want to say this like and not get in trouble, but I don't know if hospitals were working the way they should have been working at the time. And
Well, he was in intensive care because he did have lung cancer.
okay.
So he found out he had lung cancer on a Thursday. That Saturday, I took him to a hospital.
Was that after he found out he
Yeah,
had
Thursday.
COVID?
The next Sunday, I took him to the hospital. They put him on a breathing machine, and I never got to talk to him again.
You said I never thought that would have
So-
been the last time I spoke
But the
to him.
hospital was so super to me.
Good. Good.
The last week, I got what they called a golden ticket, because then you could only go in for 10 minutes every 2 hours.
yeah.
That is the worst.
I got a golden ticket that I could go in any time of the day, stay there as long as I wanted, and
So they
just
loved
be
you
there.
too.
Oh, well, who
It's
doesn't
kind of
love
hard to
that?
deny the love for Doug, but that's hard to hear that, we were giving, people golden tickets in this time. And
How
it's
audacious
just,
of us.
It's a time that I hope we learn from and we don't ever go back to, because
Oh, I do too.
that was your sadness was my sadness. It was everybody's sadness at the north end. Nobody could turn away and not cry when you see some couple, a power couple, be torn apart by life and death. But you've shown me that life exists after love. And like
loves,
sometimes I feel like life doesn't, I'm like doom and gloom. He's always the person that brings you up. And it's like, how are you being the one that brings me up when you lost the love of your life, when you, have dealt with the trial and tribulations of just being yourself
Living
and
outside
being
of the
accepted.
norm. Yeah.
So, yeah, you are an amazing person. I can't express it to you enough. And I still want to figure out why or how. Like, why and how are you still positive?
Well, I have a ton of great support from my friends, my family. I depend on them a lot, and I just enjoy being with them. They need my support a lot.
Everybody looks to Doug.
They really do, and I don't mind that. But I'm a positive person anyway, and I like to spread that to everybody, because there's a lot of people out there so sad.
Yeah.
They really are. And I can sense that. And I'll try to talk to them and joke with them, and without them even knowing that I'm trying to cheer them up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You play that game on me all the time.
I do play that game.
I don't realize it until the next day.
I have a poor bartender that I go see all the time, and she's never smiles. Not you. Not you.
I was like, wait a minute.
I thought you were.
But she does smile, and I tell her,
Yeah.
just smile. You'll get
Yeah.
a lot more tips.
It's true.
It's not me.
And
so
every
true.
time she sees me now, she puts this big smile on her face. And then the whole time there, she turns around and looks at me and smiles.
Yeah.
Normally when people are like, just smile, I'm like, I'll show you where the sun don't smile.
Right. Sometimes I
But
hate
if
when
it's coming
people,
from Doug,
yeah.
it's like,
I was
oh,
gonna
okay.
say sometimes I hate when people tell me to smile because I'm like, but if it were coming from Doug, I would absolutely know that it was genuine. So when you're talking about your support system and the fact that you support people, I think that is something. I think it's something that everyone in any minority group is looking for, right? Support system,
Right.
somebody to speak for them when they can't, someone to accept them when they're having a problem accepting themselves, right? I do think that sometimes, and I'm sorry if this offends anyone, I do think that sometimes it gets blown up so big that it's hard to take bites of it and accept it for what it should be, which is acceptance and love,
Right.
more than, like almost like a show. I don't know, like a show. Virtue signaling. It's like, if you would just live your life and
Like Doug.
but then so we were talking before about the flip side, so it's not, mutually exclusive. I can think that maybe it's kind of a big show, but also not understand what they need. So I don't want to talk shit about like the movements and the special interest
Right.
groups.
They need that,
Because,
maybe.
well, I think that they've been
Maybe.
quiet for so long, maybe, that they want to be loud so people hear and accept them. But I think the counterintuitiveness is happening that it's almost too loud. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on how do you, again, I don't want to make you a spokesperson, but it's impossible for me not to ask these questions. So
That's okay.
when you see the movements, the trans movements, the pansexual movements, the things, and it's like, okay, we hear you, we're
Right.
here. Do you think it is still that dangerous that we have to be that loud? Do you think it's still something that we're like, we need everybody to accept us?
To a certain point, it is.
Okay.
It depends on what part of the LGBT community you are.
Okay.
Just being gay or lesbian, that's fine. It's hard for people to understand the trans thing, and it's hard for me to understand
Yeah,
that.
it's hard. Yeah, it's really hard for me to.
Me, I'm gay. I like men.
Yeah.
I don't want a man to become a woman because then he's not a man anymore.
Right.
So,
very
sorry,
confusing
I said it.
sometimes.
No, I'm
No,
glad
I
you
think
said it,
it's
which
hard to
brings-
understand sometimes.
This also brings up something that I'm sorry, I was like, oh, we'll organically go into it. But Doug is a different kind of gay in the sense of the mere fact that I have never met a gay Republican.
Oh,
And he is hardcore Republican.
I am.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that is outside the mold.
Yeah.
Do you know any? I don't know. I guess I can think of one other one. I don't want to name him because I'm not trying to call him out. I told you I was calling you out.
Yeah.
I
and
don't think
said-
I've ever thought about.
But like generally,
The
they
two-
all. No, I mean, really?
Well, to be quite fair, I never look at someone and say gay, Republican, Democrat. Like I don't like put anything into things. I'm just like I genuinely love you, or I can't stand you.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I
You
see
know,
that. But
yeah.
like, I mean, I'm just saying, how many times have you heard of somebody that is gay that supports the Republican Party? It's very rare. I think, and I'm just going to speak real quick, and then you tell me why.
Okay.
My guess is, knowing Doug, he's just conservative values, conservative spending.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You tightwad?
No,
Okay.
he tips like he's a baller.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
He tips like he's a bartender.
All right. Well, tell me about your
But
Republican
yeah,
stance if
I
you don't
want to
mind.
know this.
Well, you know what? I grew up under Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
He's my favorite president
Enough said.
ever.
Yeah.
And
He's up there
when I was in
somewhere.
college, I learned Reaganomics, and I grew up on a farm.
Where'd you go to college?
WIU.
Nice.
Nice. Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you grew up on a farm.
And I grew up on a farm. And,
So conservative.
and so that's part of my conservative background.
Is that all right?
Gotcha.
What is it?
So,
A leatherneck.
Yeah,
But
that
the
is-
bulldog is the mascot. I had that right.
yes, he is.
All right.
But they are the leathernecks.
Sports.
Well, I called white collar, blue collar, so dyslexia.
Well, there
We
you
don't
go.
fit any molds, okay? Here we go. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, what were we talking about?
So Republican views and Reaganomics, and you grew up on a farm, so I assume that your family upbringing had a huge impact on not only your political stance, but probably your positivity.
That is probably true.
Yeah.
Are there any influence of religion in there? I know a lot of times that plays a part in politics.
Well,
Yeah.
I went to Sunday school and church every Sunday.
Yep.
And,
Did you love it?
Oh, yeah, of course I did.
Really?
Yeah, I did. At one time, they wanted me to become a pastor. And I'm going, no, that's not for me. But, and I tried to take my kids to church every Sunday until they got to a certain age. And
They could make their own choices.
And
And
they
they were
could.
like, nah.
so,
Yeah.
Were they like nah? Or where are they, you know, since you took them? Did they decide for themselves that it was just not something they wanted, or how did that go?
they're religious. They just don't go to church.
In their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went to
He-
Catholic school.
Oh, really?
And I'm not Catholic at all.
Really?
No,
What made
Were you Catholic?
no, never.
Okay.
So what made you choose Catholic school? Was it your wife?
No, it was mutual. I wanted them to grow up in a loving atmosphere, learning about God.
Yeah. Where they don't tape their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
So anyway,
you did end up raising lovely daughters, 2 daughters that I think the world of, and then his grandson, Rossi, he's Mayla's age. They run on track together.
They do.
And I can't tell you a better grandpa than Grandpa Doug.
Yeah.
But you're not Grandpa, you're Papa.
I am
Sorry,
Papa.
I gave you the wrong name, Papa. What is that like? Just kind of like, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're reparenting, but you are a significant father role in this little boy's life.
yeah, I've been there since day one, hour one.
Yeah.
So,
What's
In
it
the
like?
birthing room?
well, I didn't get to go in there. So
You're not missing much. I'm kidding. You're missing a whole lot. Maybe you don't wanna
I
see
got
it.
to watch that with my own
There
kids.
you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like doing that kind of almost all over, but in a second set of eyes, you know? It's like doing
I do it all the time right now. That's one of my favorite things I do. Yesterday
Yeah.
afternoon, we took him to soccer practice, took him home. Well, we had to eat first at Cane's,
Yeah.
his favorite place.
Duh. Gotta go there.
I don't know how many times you take your grandson to Cane's. He always says.
That was the second time this
snoring.
week. They know my name by heart now.
I love
When-
your positivity behind this. Seriously.
What?
Like just saying, I got to take him to soccer practice. Like
Yeah.
normally I'm like,
You
oh,
get
I
to-
have to be your taxi.
I want to be his taxi. I only have a year left to be that.
Yeah.
So, like, I took him to get his haircut Monday before we went to soccer practice. But I remember the time before he never got his hair washed after he got it cut. And I go, try it. You'll like the fingers in
Oh
your
yeah,
hair.
and you get all the hair off you.
And this time
Yeah.
he goes, yeah, I want a shampoo.
Oh, nice.
See, I do teach people some good things.
Yeah.
Well, so I was gonna say you're obviously and inevitably teaching Rossi and your children how to love and respect and accept. How do you, if you had advice for, let's say, everyone in Quincy on how to do the same thing, what would you say?
Oh, how to do the same thing. I guess if I'm trying to influence somebody, or if you're trying to influence somebody, you know them, you love them, you share everything with them, teach them everything you know. That means your feelings, how you treat people, how to do things, like maybe change a tire.
Do you know how to change a tire?
Of course I do.
Could you teach me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can.
cool. Okay.
We'll go over to Delta Tire later.
I was gonna
That'll
say,
be
I
easier.
know, I'll pay for it.
Doug is like
But
one
I
of the
can change a tire.
manliest
Yeah.
men I know. He knows.
Breaking
yeah.
the mold.
Yeah, he really does.
Oh.
He breaks the mold on that.
I do about anything.
One last thing I want to touch on, and it's kind of off base. It's not so heavy and serious, you know. So David Adam presented me with an article from the New York Times stating that millennials no longer like to keep their tabs
Oh, yeah.
open. And I
That's
don't
the
really
part.
have that much experience with it because at Spring Street we're cash only. However, I do work at the North End occasionally, and there you have card service available. Now, my experience is prior to COVID, we
Right.
had our little card thing, and I would have 10, 12 cards, you know, on hand, and people are just racking it up.
Those were the good old days.
They were.
Those were the good
but
old days.
after COVID, we don't really have those cards as much. One, I don't know if like the bar situation is prevalent as it used to be. But two, I don't think it has anything to do with millennials. Like with this article, like the thing was millennials do not like commitment. Meaning, like, they want to bust out when their friends bust out.
Right.
We don't, we have few millennials in the North End, but I think everyone has adapted that mentality, not so much because they want to bust out when they want to bust, but maybe that's kind of the thing. But the shock value of your total at the end. After COVID,
Been there, done that.
I feel like we've all kind of set back a little bit because you never know when the, end of times might happen and you have to depend on a $600 paycheck a month from the government as opposed to your tips that you could have made that in a weekend.
So do you see that as well? So you have like 3 different places that you bartend.
I wanted to know, like,
what's
that
tab or
like?
not tab?
One of them is cash only. The other 2 do take cards. It is a lot less cards since
Does it have
COVID.
anything to do with millennial age or do you just see this because of, do you think it's a spending issue or a I want to bust out of there issue?
I think it's more of a spending issue.
Yeah.
Because like you say, they run a tab all night.
To get a
then
couple in
you
them.
get the total and they go, I didn't buy that much. And I'm going, here you go. This is exactly what you bought.
Can I give you my
Yeah, I want to hear it.
thing? When I have a tab, I'm buying everybody drinks because it's fake
Same.
money.
Yeah.
It's not even real.
Oh,
I'm buying
right.
everybody everything, and I'm the friend of the bar, right?
Right.
Then at the end of the night, I'm like, anybody got 20? Anybody got a 20? Can you tip? Can you? So it's like, I think maybe people are a little more, they're tracking things a little bit more, probably due to, things being more expensive. And we
can
want to
see
make
that.
sure that we're not overindulging or overspending, over-generousing, if that's even a thing. But I mean, but also from my perspective, where I bartend, it is a lot of millennials. I do see a lot of people our age starting tabs and leaving them go, probably because of habit.
Yeah.
Right.
People that are younger are like, go ahead and tab it out because I'm not even buying his drink or her drink or anybody else's drink. I'll get mine every time I go up. But they should know that when you do that, there's like do you guys charge a
20%,
fee?
I think. Is it 20%?
There's like a 3% card fee every time like you swipe, right?
Yeah, some
Well,
places.
that's what the businesses charge.
Yeah.
But then
And lots
some
of
places
people-
they do 20%.
Right.
Yeah.
Is down on the
And
corner,
but we have like a minimum that you have to spend anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
which is
So-
$10, but that's actually sometimes
That's-
kind of hard to spend at a corner bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I do want to see bar life, though, real quick, last on that note.
Okay.
I just want to see it revive. And
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
sure.
sure how we revive it other than getting bartenders like Doug,
100%.
where they are there for that reason. It's not just to give you the drink. It's to listen to
mentor,
you.
Right.
counseling.
Now,
Have fun with.
yes.
Yeah.
Mind you, there are times when bartenders are super busy and they can't listen to your problems. So, like, give them that grace. But that service, I feel like, and that atmosphere, I want to see it come back, not just for my own pockets, but because of what Doug has just been saying this whole time. It's how I met you.
Right.
It's how you become friends with people,
Yeah.
camaraderie, cheap therapy.
Yeah.
As Quincyans, we all kind of love it, but I feel like we do need to somewhat bring it back collectively as a whole.
Yeah.
Bars run this town. They
They do.
support the food and beverage tax. They support our Quincy drinking culture
Well, I
to a
think
degree.
quality of life
Right.
also, because people, when they hear bars, they just hear alcoholics. That's not the case,
No.
and I wish that myth would be busted. People go there to build relationships. They meet lifelong friends there, and it's a bigger culture than people may realize unless they're immersed in it. I think it is valuable to Quincy. We have a bar and a church on every corner, and you find your community in one or the other, or perhaps both. But I do think that it makes things like what we were talking about earlier, being a part of a gay community, or it makes the acceptance a lot easier when you're close with people and building those relationships, whether through a bar, through a church, any
Right.
community.
Right.
Makes it a lot easier. So give me just a few of your favorite things about bartending as a whole, maybe life as a whole, what you're looking forward to coming up, anything that we know you're full of positivity, so lay it on us because we could use it.
Okay. What do I like about bartending? I love my clients, my guests. And if you're new and I don't know you and you just come in, I'm going to introduce you to all the regulars there because I want you to come back again. And I
Right.
do that every single time unless I'm super busy.
Yeah.
I really do. I try to
That's
make you feel welcome. Most of the time your guests are your best friends because you see them all the time. And lots of my best friends now are at the bar just because I see them all the time. We have a tight relationship. And just seeing people happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my overview of the bar thing. In life, I just love to be with people. I love to share our stories. I love talking to Brittany. I loved talking to everybody. Most of my friends were really tight, and if something happens, like some sort of tragedy or something, we're all going to be right there.
I think that's bar, like what you just said with that's bar community, especially we've shared that at the North End. Anytime anything happens in somebody's life. And that's like every bar. So like you said, don't dismiss bars for whatever. You can find the love of your life.
Right.
You can find your best friend. And your community. And
Right.
I thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. And I'm so glad that I found you.
I'm glad I found you.
I'm glad I found you both, guys. Don't
There
leave
you
me
go.
out. I'm kidding.
I was coming back to you.
No, I'm kidding. I think it's outstanding that people. Oh.
Anything you want to add? I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, you're good.
No, I don't know where I was at, so it's okay.
All
Because
right.
if I say anymore, I'll cry just
All
like
right,
you did.
okay.
No,
well
you're
then,
good.
happy birthday, Doug!
Happy birthday, Doug. Looking forward to another year of positivity, love, acceptance, and all around community through all of the bars that you work at. You want to shout them out so people come visit you and join your family?
Yeah, let's say the days and times that we're there right now.
Okay, North End, Sundays, 6 to 1.
Best Bloody Marys.
Harrison Pub, 5 to 1 on Mondays.
I miss him every Monday.
Yeah, you do. And down on the corner on Thursdays from 6 to 1.
Perfect.
If I'm off on
and
a
certain
Monday,
other
though, I'm
days,
coming in
whenever
there.
I'm there.
Yeah, whenever you're there. So go join Doug, his family, his community. If you need some positivity, some uplift, or just a big smile on your face, he will make sure it happens. Thank you so much, Doug, for coming in. You are definitely a light in this room, and sometimes we all need that, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. And thank you both for
Love you.
having me here. I love you.
I love you too, guys. Thanks for joining us. That's funny.
Oh, you're going to put it on my nose?